will remember, of course, that last week, late in the week, probably Friday, we spoke about crazy Spider-Man 4 rumors. Okay? Now, one of the things was they're bringing in an A-list celebrity or some high-profile celebrity to be the villain of Spider-Man 4. And we talk about why that's kind of crazy. Suggests maybe a new villain. Suggests some wild shit going on. Probably not Noel, probably not Mephisto, probably something else. They're cooking something else. There was another scoop which said that Spider-Man 4 was going through a tonal shift, much like Thor Ragnarok took the Thor character into a different direction. That's what they want to do with Spider-Man 4. Now, we all got kind of excited about that. We speculated on what it could mean. We were like, dude, that's really interesting. A new take for Spider-Man, a new vibe for Spider-Man. What could it be? Was it dark before? Is it going to get darker? Is it going to get more lighthearted? What's the deal, right? Well, check this out, ladies and gentlemen. This is coming from an account called The Redacted Guy or Redacted Spider. And I don't know who this dude is, but apparently he's a somebody. He's followed by a bunch of scoopers and insiders. And a lot of people brought this up to me and said this is real. Okay? So again, I don't know who this guy is, but a lot of people are telling me this guy's legit. So I'm going to start following this guy. I'll make sure that we keep tabs on him to make sure that he's accurate, et cetera, et cetera. But check this out, okay? What I'm hearing. Point of inspiration for Spider-Man 4 is indeed the Batman. We're talking about the hockey pad wearing Robert Pattinson Batman, which, by the way, I don't really like that movie, but hold that thought, put a pin in that. While the Homecoming trilogy was more lighthearted and optimistic, Destin and Marvel will lean into that anger. Expect more grit and more focus on hand-to-hand combat with no multiverse villains. The film will still lead into Secret Wars, but the current priority at Marvel is making a grounded and more mature direction for the webhead after the events of No Way Home and Brave New World. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. That is pretty dope. So let's break it down like a fraction. They're suggesting here that the tone of the other saga was optimistic and lighthearted. First of all, do you agree with that? I think a lot of you probably do. I, on Friday, had suggested that I actually thought the Spider-Man trilogy was dark, right? I was like, oh, dude, no. Like, I actually think it's pretty dark, whatever. But all of you were like, no. Here's the thing. I see where you guys are at because tonally, they're not dark. They deal with some dark material, and there's some very heavy and dark scenes, but I totally understand where you're coming from. I don't think I would be able to categorize the tone of the overall movies as dark when it comes to, like, Spider-Man, Far From Home, No Way Home, Homecoming, and all of them, right? So it seems like they're going to shift it, and they're going to be a lot more dark. Now, when they say the Batman, oh man, this gets really crazy. This gets really interesting. It ties into some other rumors that we've heard, okay? So more grit, more focus on hand-to-hand combat with no multiversal villains. Man, I got to tell you, a couple of things. I was working on a big video for Daredevil, which is either going to drop tonight or early tomorrow. Okay, I got a big old Daredevil video out there. It's about the creative overhaul and basically how this show is about to save Marvel. They've never done anything like this. It's insanity, okay? One of the things I talked about in that video was the action. And I was like, man, the action in Daredevil looks incredible. And I started to think about the action in like Phase 4 and Phase 5. And a lot of it just loses. I don't even want to necessarily say it loses its grounded nature, but it almost loses all scope of reality. And therefore, it can't be like badass. So maybe it's just like people flinging spells at each other, floating on giant cranes in CGI sky. Maybe it's like Sam literally fighting a Red Hulk with like a suit of vibranium that seems to have all the things needed to affect the Red Hulk. Maybe it's in Ant-Man and Quantumania, just these giant CGI people punching all these little CGI spaceships and stuff like that. Like, it loses its scale completely. I remember in a lot of the Infinity Saga, even when it got crazy, because it was scaled to like human things, that like helped it be insane. I remember when Bucky flips that motorcycle around, or when he uses the stairs as he pulls it out of the wall to help him descend through the stairwell, like these kind of things, which take like regular stuff and sets and environments that we interact with all the time and does crazy superhero stuff with them, right? So to me, I'm really excited for like more grit, a focus on hand-to-hand combat. Hopefully he has to fight against somebody that's incredibly strong, because otherwise he's just going to punch the shit out of this person and destroy them, right? So I really like this idea of grit, hand-to-hand combat. I mean, you've got Destin, who was the Shang-Chi guy, and the combat in Shang-Chi is absolutely incredible. So seeing some of that stuff, hell yeah. Like, that seems really cool. Now, let's talk about this Batman thing. The thing that's interesting about this Batman rumor is that this was a rumor that had existed before, and it reminds me of some of the stuff that Alex Perez had said on the Cosmic Circus, where he had implied that the spell that made everybody forget about Peter Parker was also making Spider-Man, making Tom Holland himself forget about Peter Parker. And so therefore, like, all he really was Spider-Man, but without the human element of Peter Parker, Spider-Man began to sort of lose himself and kind of forget who he is and become dark. That's a little bit kind of like what happens with Batman, because Bruce Wayne completely disappears and he just is Batman all the time, and he's totally obsessed. His mental health completely erodes, right? So that's an old rumor. You start to think about that rumor and Doomsday and Doctor Doom and the symbiote suit, right? Which, of course, like, you have the symbiote suit traditionally in the movies and even in the comics. The symbiote suit pulls out your darker side. You know, it kind of turned Peter a little darker, a little bit more aggressive, a little not like himself. It reminds me of the Suit of Sorrows. If you're familiar in the Batman mythos, there's a thing called the Suit of Sorrows. Azrael Batman uses the Suit of Sorrows. It gives you all this crazy power, but it kind of like turns you bad, turns you into a bad person, right? So I think we might be getting a version of Bully Maguire and the dark turn that, of course, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man took with the Venom symbiote, but probably done with less camp and a lot more seriousness. Now, another thing that I think is cool about this is if you have the Batman vibes and it's really gritty and it's really grounded and it's just like in New York on this new Earth or whatever, eventually that movie will turn into like cosmic multiversal stuff, and it will head in the direction of Secret Wars. That's likely going to be accomplished via Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. They'll probably come into the picture, and especially Tobey will be like, Peter, I've messed with this symbiote stuff before. You don't want to do that. You don't want no part of that, Dewey. Get out of here. Don't do it. Andrew might be like, one time I wasn't pulling my punches. I heard a bunch of people, don't go down the path that I'm going down, or that I went down. Peter one, don't do it. You know, that kind of energy, that kind of character stuff. And I think that's cool. So I do have a little bit of trouble fitting this in with some of the other rumors and some of the other stuff that we've talked about. But we've heard they're kind of reworking the script. They have a lot of different ideas. If this ends up being real, I like it. I think this is a good direction for Spider-Man. It's also a direction they can continue to explore after the soft reboot, because they're going to set some stuff up here, college years for Peter, etc. That like cast will probably still be around after Secret Wars, and so maybe we see it continue on after that. So I don't know. For me, man, this is good vibes. Like, this is really good vibes, and with a black suited Spider-Man, and here's the other thing that's really, really interesting about this. Black suit Spider-Man, he's going darker, forgetting who he is, crazy hand-to-hand combat, a lot of grit, maturity, right? Well, all of a sudden, DC and their plans with Batman, I mean, how are they going to compete? You know, like how are they going to be able to compete? I don't know. It's all of a sudden Feige's stealing that swag. All of a sudden, I'm feeling a little bit more of that white Suge Knight energy where he comes in and kind of steals the swag, does it better, and sets Marvel up for a massive freaking win. So that's the news with regards to Spider-Man 4 and the tonal shift. Pretty crazy, man. Wonder what you think about that. Excited to hear what you think. Thanks for watching. And if you like this clip, smash a like on the actual video and subscribe to this channel. That way more of these clips get into your feed. I've also linked the full episode below if you want to check out the entire thing, including the Q&A we do with fans. You can also watch this show live. We do it live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And you can also find all of my content, including the videos I put on my main YouTube channel, on the podcast feed.